I don't really know how to start this. I mean, you saw the title. You saw the title for the episode you're about to see. I mean, welcome. Another Thursday. Gear Talks. The winner of the poll was Gears of War Judgment bad. So, I tried to figure out how I'd open this, and I really couldn't figure out a way because this is a really, really debated subject when it comes to the Gears of War fandom and franchise in general. Was Gears of War Judgment bad? I mean, when I say this, I'm not saying like, oh, it was a game like, it just didn't live up to expectations. No, like this game is considered to be the lowest of low, bottom of the barrel. Everyone despises it. But I'm going to sit here and see if I can't figure out if there's some redeeming qualities. And at the end, I'll give you my take on Gears of War Judgment. Because yes, I have an opinion for what I'm about to talk about. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Should we? Yeah, I think we should. Or else everyone's just going to hate me if I keep trying to ramble on and defend this if I try to. So yeah. So how it's going to go is I've got this rated down to 4 different kind of categories. I've got the story. I pretty much have the gameplay. Then we have the multiplayer, which, trust me, that's going to be fun to jump into. And then we have the overall, or pretty much my thoughts, the overall take on Gears of War Judgment. So let's start off with the story and talk about that and see what we can figure out about if something went wrong with the story at all. So the story, 4 characters: Baird, Sophia, Cole, and Paddock, and Loomis too, if you want to throw him in there and count him. I mean, towards the end, he played somewhat of a role. Okay, so with Judgment, the story, in my mind, and I guess I should put this as a disclaimer, not everyone's going to have the same opinion about the things I'm about to say. For instance, I could say something's good, someone could argue it's bad. So, heads up, this is my opinion on was Gears of War Judgment bad. You can have your own take on it, put it in the comment if you want. I'll probably put this up on Twitter. You can put anything you want under that. Just keep it civil because it's your own opinion. Don't try and like throw it onto other people. You know, just be civil with it. All right. So with the story, I thought it was an okay story. I personally thought that was the strong point of all of Judgment, was the story itself. I thought the story was very good. And I say this a lot about stories when it comes to the Gears franchise, but if you went through and read the books, for instance, you'll see that this does line up with a certain event that happens with Baird and Cole, because there is a gap in time where this can take place. So I don't really have a problem when it comes to canonicity. There are some other issues that come up, like people bring up the Cantus. For instance, in 2, it's believed that Marcus and Dom didn't know what a Cantus was until they saw it. I don't know how to take that one. I would say it can work because of the fact that Baird and Cole, we never got their expression for what is a Cantus, you know. So in this game, we can believe they know what a Cantus is. They see it and they know what it is. Marcus and Dom, for all we know, that could have been the first time they ever saw one and they were questioning it. And it's not like Baird or Cole were there to say like, oh, that's what it is. So I can live with that. Now, obviously, when it comes to the Mark II Lancers, that's an obvious, you know, it was stated they put those in there. The Mark II shouldn't have existed at the time. It should have just been the Retro Lancers. But anyway, continuing on from there with the story. Now, going from there, a lot of people say that the campaign was pretty much just an extended Horde mode. Like, all of campaign was Horde mode. And I don't really see how it is, especially when you get to, I believe, the 4th act. You have to storm a beach. And after you storm the beach, you have to set things up. Granted, that's like Horde mode when they're coming in. But when you storm that beach, that's not Horde mode. That's normal Gears we're used to. Now, I'm not saying there's not Horde aspects to it. There totally is. But the issue is people are saying that the entire story is just Horde, and it really isn't. I had no problem going through it. The only thing I would say I really had a problem with in the story were the declassified missions. Because I understand what they were going for. It kind of makes sense since this was technically a record they were giving. But they were giving this all to a prison hearing, and they were the only people that knew about it. No one else did. Now, granted, this happened the early days of the war, so you'd have to keep it expunged from the record. But they're telling Loomis all of this in a court hearing. We don't need things expunged. He needs to hear the entire truth. So that's what I found weird. I would be fine if we had little mini challenges here or there and you get like some kind of rewards at the end, like extra ammo or a weapon you don't get later on, like something like that. But it just seemed weird to me. I like the concept, but it just seemed the setting that it was in, it just really didn't work that well. Okay, so for the characters, like I said, there's 4. If you want to count Loomis, 5. I'm going to quickly go over them. Not in detail, but just how I felt that they affected the game and if they hindered it at all. Starting with Baird. I thought Baird was good. I thought he did an amazing job. It really fleshes out his character a lot to show how he takes leadership. And as it's stated in the books and the games and everything, he is the type of person who can be leader. So I was happy to see he led Kilo Squad. It was really refreshing to see. Now, when it comes to off of Baird going to Cole, I wasn't a big fan of what they did with Cole. It really seems like they really just cast him to the side and just had him there for just so you could see. They really slimmed him down too, which was weird. I kind of understand, but when you read everything and go through the games, like you expect to see, Cole as Cole, just big old Cole. I just wasn't a fan of the whole slim down they did for him because Baird really didn't have any major changes. You go into the future at like 15 years later or 7, I forget when the Locust War exactly ended, but there's Cole, just normal as ever. Paddock hasn't changed. There's no major changes, so I just don't see why they had to change Cole up. It was just weird. Sophia, I don't care for Sophia. If you saw the top 10 video of characters I don't like. Sophia, I mean, really the only time I really cared any at all was during the academy level. That's the only reason, because then you get some backstory, but you still don't get that much. Now, Paddock I enjoyed. That adds a whole other spectrum to things we don't even think about when it comes to these games. It's the UIR side of things, and I'll just jump right into Karn from here, just so you can see the connection. A lot of people didn't like Karn, and I can understand why. I thought his build-up was kind of weak. When you first see him, that's amazing. His build-up was weak, and it really feels like just this last enemy they threw out of nowhere. If it wasn't for the fact you get introduced to him really early on, and Paddock's his hype man pretty much. But that's one thing I liked, and they expand on it later on with the comics, is that he was like the second general that was around. There were 2 generals. It was Rom and Karn. Those were the 2. A lot of people didn't like that, but I kind of, after thinking about it, enjoyed it. Because it makes sense, because the Locusts are coming up all around the world. And you have the UIR, and you can tell the Locusts plan things. Rom's not an idiot. Scourge was down there helping them plan. Scourge ain't an idiot. Karn, we learned he ain't an idiot. They probably understood, hey, this war just happened. There's 2 different factions. Both of them are still pretty armed. Someone's got to go and focus on the UIR. We can't just spread everyone under one general. So that made sense to me. I enjoyed it. I thought that was a good move. Later on, too, in the comics, they really fleshed that out, and I thought that was good. So, Karn, he wasn't really good when he first debuted, but as the series went, he did better. Loomis, you either like Loomis or you hate him, and I don't really like Loomis, because you could have had anyone else fill the role Loomis did, and it really wouldn't have mattered, because then when you go into the Aftermath campaign, Loomis ain't even around. Just a destroyed statue of him, and they offhandedly mention him. That's it. Like, I don't know. That's my opinion. Some of the crew was good, some wasn't, but I don't really think that had a very large hindrance on the main aspect of why people don't like it. So next up, I've got the gameplay, but before we get into that, I also want to mention the environment of the game, or like the feel that it gave. I thought it was really good. Especially that first level when you see the tree on fire. The game really pushed more towards, instead of being kind of, how do I put this? I don't want to say blurred out, because that's not the right way. Instead of feeling more dull and dark, like the original Gears did, gave that feeling of like just being down and having to survive this world. This one was really bright and colorful. That tree on fire was amazing to look at. I don't care if you like the game or not. You have to admit, that was great to come across that. I thought that was pretty good. I thought the environment for the game, they were going for the more bright aspect of it. It was a different direction. I thought it worked for the way they portrayed Gears for Judgment. Now, if they would have done it like Judgment being more serious and down and not this big, huge shooter, then I think it wouldn't have worked as well. The direction they went with the environment fit the pacing they were going for with the game. Now, going from there, environment to gameplay, there are a lot of bugs and glitches in this damn thing. I will not argue that. It is, there are so many, because I played my first time I ever played through, and I went through completionist. I did the hardest difficulty, got the serious achievement. I did all of it. This game will make you want to chuck a controller half the time when you come across those, because they will piss you off completely. And I hate it so much because I get it. This wasn't, at the time, I think Epic still had control of it. It wasn't Epic working on this. I get it. You know, Coalition wasn't even around yet. I understand. They didn't go through a major testing of all of this. But you have to at least have someone test it and be like, okay, there's something that's messed up here. I don't know. Maybe I just got so unlucky I ended up getting all the bugs and goddamn glitches you could get. I don't know. Maybe everyone else didn't, but that's what ended up happening to me. So I do believe that played a small role into why people were not a big fan of Judgment. A small role. We're about to get to the big issue right now. Now, the biggest thing people hate about this game, and before I even made this video, you know, I already played Gears, I already knew the situation with it. I went online, did a bit of research, I went through and saw other people's opinions, and yes, this is the biggest reason people just hate this game. The multiplayer aspect is so watered down compared to what we're used to. In a way, it is broken. It's just, they took everything people enjoyed about multiplayer and they gutted it. They took out everything major that you could have any happiness towards or glee or anything. Gone. Horde mode, there is no horde mode. Locust enemies or even the Locust you can play as, nothing. It's gone. You want a bunch of characters you can play as, and even characters that this will be the first time they're multiplayer. Aside from one character we never seen before, all of it gone. There's nothing. We have, I think, 6 characters to choose from for multiplayer and like 40 skins, but these skins are not that great. There's like maybe 3 of them that are good for each character, but that's it. 3 out of 40 to 50 is not good. So, you can only play as the human characters, Sophia, Paddock, Cole, Baird, Loomis, and I think there's one more. If not, it's 5, and that's even worse. But the maps, too. The maps aren't good. There are a few that are decent. I'll give it that. I'm not going to sit here and just destroy multiplayer, because I'm not a big multiplayer gamer, if you haven't noticed. There are a few good maps. I have played a decent amount of multiplayer, though, on Judgment. A lot of them are not good. I will say that right now. There are a few that are good. I think the city, the level that takes place in the city, that's a decent one. But I can't really think of any other good ones. I really cannot. And they do the one thing that'll kill a multiplayer game right away if you're trying to boost up hype about skins or anything. They go through. You have to have a certain code or order it from a certain place. I think one of them was from Amazon. What they did with JD and 4, I think they had something for Tostitos. Stuff like that. The only way you can get any other character is to go through that. And what pissed me off the most, one of those characters was Alex Brand. You don't understand how big that is. We've never had Alex Brand before in multiplayer. Alex Brand is the most badass female character of them all. And you want her? Well, you must have had a special code. Oh, you don't have it? You're screwed. No Alex Brand. And she looks pretty good. You know, they did a good job making her look like Alex Brand. It just pissed me off that no one can get it unless you have this code. There's no in-game microtransactions. There is nothing. You want her? Too bad. Yank out the code. And that wouldn't be a big issue if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, Gears has done this before. So it's nothing we're not used to. But it's the fact that it's the only thing. There's no unlocking other characters. Well, there is for the Aftermath, but that's pretty easy. That's story stuff. So there's no unlocking them doing certain things. There's no unlocking them doing certain, you know, requirements inside the game. There's none of that. You don't get her? Too bad. You're screwed. For the modes, as you can see, I'm a bit heated because they took out a lot of things I enjoyed about Gears. So for the modes, we got Overrun, which it's decent. It's okay. I'd say below Horde, above, I believe Beast Mode was the name of the other one, where you play as the Locust. It's pretty much a combination of both. I thought it was okay. I think it's the first game to introduce the class system, like Engineer, Scout, or I think it was just Sniper, not Scout at the time. And then there was stuff like that. I think that was the first one to introduce that, which I think ended up going into 4, and that did pretty well. I thought it was good. They took out Horde, like I said. No one was a fan of that. That's where the argument for, campaign's mostly Horde, because we don't have Horde, but I don't know. It just felt like they could have done a lot, and I can tell what they did. They focused on the story mode. That's what they did. They didn't create any other skins or anything for Locust. They didn't do that. And they even they wear red for the opposing team, so they easily could have just done Locust, gave them a red tint, and there you're done. They didn't do that. They didn't focus on the modes or anything. They obviously focused on story, which, considering that this is a different company at the time that was working on it, I'm fine with that. It's okay, whatever. It's okay, whatevs. I don't know. Multiplayer, you can tell there wasn't a focus. And for anyone who's a multiplayer Gears fan, you're going to hate this game. And going from that, let's move on to the fourth category I had, which is just the overall layout of all of this. Let's just go over everything, and I'll give you my personal opinion. If I have to truly say how I feel about this game, how I feel about Judgment, and this one's going to be a bit of a lengthy one at this point with what I'm going to talk about, but bear with me. So, if I really had to sit down and say my personal opinion on everything when it comes to Gears of War Judgment, it's not a bad game. It's not. This game is it's a lot more crapped on than you would think. This game is a lot better than everyone gives it credit for. Now, let me explain why before everyone starts listing off the 50 reasons why it sucks. Okay. This game, I consider, and when I'm talking about is it a good or bad game, I really am thinking of it more as a game that stands on its own. I'm not thinking, this is the big next Gears game we were waiting on. I'm not considering that. No one considered Judgment to be the big game that's coming up for Gears. That's the new thing. We all knew this was going to be something, off of the main story of everything. We knew this. This wasn't a big, oh my god, I'm so excited. So I wasn't really torn apart when this game, people were saying like, it's not the greatest. Whatever. This game's standing on its own. It's a decent, average game. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just average. It's just a game. And that's what I think a lot of people are pissed about, because Gears of War, we have all of these titles that are considered very good games. Then you have Judgment. It's a decent game. It's an average game. They made it. It's there. And that's the thing. Since everyone doesn't consider it as great as the others, they just consider it crap. It's kind of like, let's say this game's a 6. And the other Gears games are 9s. Obviously, I'm not scaling them by anything. I'm just using numbers. Because this game's a 6 and that's a 9, they automatically see the 6 being just as much as a 2. That's the thing. I'm not saying it's as bad as a 2, but you know what I'm getting at. They're considering this game to be worse than it is because it doesn't live up to what the other games were. Now, I'm not trying to defend this game fully. Multiplayer killed it. If this game had a decent multiplayer, it would still be relevant. The multiplayer, it works for a base multiplayer, but for what Gears has made, it does not live up to anything. They gutted it, they changed it, it just is not what we're used to. And it sucks for some people who are really hardcore into the Gears franchise. I'm really into it, but I'm really into it for story. So when I played, I was okay with it because the story for me, it was fine. It explained a lot of things. Aftermath explained what Cold and Baird were doing. I really loved that. We got some new Locusts and it was explained what happened to them, like the Ragers. We got to see what Baird was like when he was younger and when he was leading his own squad. I thought it was an alright game. I didn't think it was this horrible thing. I had a roommate, Warren, when I was going to college. He played it first and he absolutely hated it with a passion. And I played it and I'm like, it's not that bad. I see where people are coming from, but it's not that bad. And like I said, the multiplayer really did kill it. If the multiplayer was better, I think people would have more of a better shine to it. But because Gears of War really is, it's gone up in the years as being like the multiplayer game. It's got esports competitions for it now. I don't think there's ever going to be like, okay, time for that Gears of War Judgment esports tournament. That ain't going to be a thing. So in my mind, this game it's an average game. I think the hate it's getting it falls into the Dragon Age 2 syndrome. And little quick thing I'll tell you what the Dragon Age 2 syndrome is, because I brought this up on Twitter, my Facebook, and all that. I'll explain the Dragon Age 2 syndrome. Dragon Age 2 syndrome is when you have a game, it's average, it's an okay game, there's nothing really wrong with it. Yeah, there's a few things here or there that are an issue, but as a standalone game, it's fine. But if it's a part of a franchise, and it's a beloved franchise, and it's just an average game, it'll be considered the worst thing to ever exist. When Dragon Age 2 came out, I remember those days, because Dragon Age Origins is possibly my favorite game of all time. When Dragon Age 2 came out, it was nothing but, this game is fucking garbage. And I'm trying not to swear in a lot of these, but, you know, it happens now and then. This game sucks. It blows. It is horseshit. And I didn't play it for a while because I heard it sucked. And then I finally did, and I'm like, yeah, this game is definitely different, and I don't know what the hell they're doing with the elves' eyes and everything, but this is an average game. There's nothing wrong with it. It's decent. As a standalone game, we need to look at these things. Compare it to a franchise all you want. That's fine. But you can't just say, because this game's a part of the Gears franchise or the Dragon Age franchise, and it doesn't live up to the hype, it's an automatic garbage game. They're not. Judgment is not that bad. Like, really sit down and play it and tell me if it's really that bad. I have played horrible games. I have played games that you cannot repair, fix, they're bugged that horribly. I played games where the story is dumb as hell. I played games with horrible endings that ruin everything. I've done all of that. I can tell you right now, Judgment is not on any of those lists. Okay? I understand a lot of people want to hate it, and they wanted me to say, like, oh yeah, this game sucks. But is Gears of War Judgment a bad game? My answer, no. It is not a bad game. It is an average game. If you want to give it a 5, that's fine. You want to give it a 4, that's fine. You want to give it a 6, that's fine. 7, that's fine. I just want to say this. If you want to compare the game, go ahead. But don't put its merit up to what a franchise puts up for itself. If that makes any sense. Don't compare the game to these 4 other great games we get that are above and beyond. And because this one game is shooting for an average level, it's automatically the red-haired stepchild. Now, before my comment section explodes, and I'm sure Twitter is going to hate me for the rest of the week until the next video, you guys have a great one. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. All of that good stuff. Ring a bell, I guess. I don't care if you do or not. If you see these videos, that's great. If not, I mean, I'll see you again sometime. I'm sure I will. I'm throwing my hands of blood, as you can tell. I don't know why. You guys have a great one. Have a nice time. If you're going to comment something, please try not to piss off everyone else. I have to look through these sometimes and make sure that everyone's hunky-dory. So, have a good one, guys. I hope I live to the next episode. Bye.